And welcome to the sewing part of the skirt. So what I did now, I have all the panels here. I've cut out the band. For the band, my actual waist measurement is 36, but what I have here is 40 inches in length. Sorry, that's in width. So here I have 40 inches. The reason why I did it that way, so if I have any excess, I can cut it off, because I'm still going to close up these sides. So, and then I'm going to have like an overlap at the back for the hook and tie. So that was why I cut out 40 inches. Then I just use the lightest interfacing called the paper stay to just make it stable, a little bit stable. So having done that, now I have my front panel. This is the front panel with the lining. You might see something white here. The reason is that the lining is just too light. I just have to make it a little bit stable. Then I use the lightest interfacing, popularly called paper stay. So that was what I used on all my lining. This is for the back, this is for the godet. I added it to it too. Can you see that? The next thing I'm going to do now is this. I'm going to join all the lining separately. Can you see that? So I'm going to join all the lining separately except the back. So I'm going to join the sides. Remember, we left 1 inch for the side seam allowance. And also for the main fabric, I'm going to join it by the sides. For instance, this is the front panel, and these are the back panel. So the right side should be facing right side. And this will be placed this way. Let me see this. So the right sides are facing each other. So I'm going to take 1 inch from here. But there's one thing I want to tell you. By the time you sew the 1 inch, when you get down here, you can actually reduce it so that it won't fold in. So you can just reduce it when you get to this knee area, reduce it to 1/2 inch straight down. It helps the folding in too. So having done that, you will still leave the back open. So let me just do that, and also to the lining. I forgot to tell you, you have to take in your darts. I already notched all my darts, and then I've transferred the darts here. I've put in the markings. So I'm going to take all the darts. This is for the back, the front, also the other side of the back, then the front. I've already transferred my darts. So just make sure you take your darts before sewing it up by the sides. Right now, looking at what I have, I took in the darts. Can you see that? After that, then I took in 1 inch by the sides. Then when I got to the knee area here, I just had to reduce it slightly till I get 1/2 inch. Then I'm going to notch this area so as to ease the mermaid sides. I did the same thing to the lining. Can you see that? Then gave it a good press. The next thing I'm going to do now is to work on the godet, because we want all the seams to be inward. This is what the godet looks like now with the lining. Now what will I do? I'm just going to open it up. This is what it looks like. Remember, it is shorter. So what I'll do now is this. I'll now have to make it equal. Can you see that? Then I'll now have to take 1/2 inch, then sew it all through. From here, now, only the curve area. Just leave this side, just the curve area. Now, after sewing 1/2 inch, this is what I have. Because I want to top stitch, so what I will just do now is to notch it all through. So it will make it easier for me to turn it easily. Please don't cut through your seam. Now this is what I have after top stitching. So what did I do? On the wrong side, remember I notched. After notching, then I took all the seam allowance towards the lining. Then I now made like a 1/4 inch seam. Going over it, after sewing the 1/2 inch, I notch it all around. You saw that. Then I took all the seam allowance towards this side just to secure it down all through. I did that all through. So the next thing is to turn it. I'm going to make use of my pressing iron. I haven't given it a good press. This is what I have. Can you see that? So I'm just going to set it aside. Then I need to measure whatever I have here. I'm going to fold into two because we need the measurement of this. I'll need to measure what I have from here down here. I meant to say we need to take the measurement of this part because this is the part that will be attached to the skirt at the back. So this is the extension. So we need the measurement of this part. Can you see that? So from here down here now, I have 30 and 3/4. 30 and 3/4. That is what I have here because we will need this measurement. So I'm going to set this aside and we'll move to the main skirt. The next step now is to add the godet before the zipper. So I'm just going to turn this way. Now this is the back part that will have the zipper. So first we are going to attach this. We are going to attach everything, both the fabric and the lining. So what will I do now? I'm going to put it this way. But remember, our lining was 1 inch shorter than the main fabric. So after joining it, we'll have something like this. Can you see we have 1/2 inch inward? So the same thing is going to apply to this. So when I want to join this now, I'm going to start from 1/2 inch this way. Can you see that? I'm now going to join it 1/2 inch till the edge of the triangle. Can you see that? I'm going to stop there. After doing that one, then I'll take this one now. Also to this other side, I'm going to make it the right side face each other. Then I will start from 1/2 inch to, can you see that? And also sew it from the inside all through. I'm going to show you that before we close it to the point where we want the zipper to stop. Now I've attached this. Can you see that? So sorry I made a mistake initially. I told you 1/2 inch, but you should take 1 inch. Why? Because we left 1 inch for the zipper allowance all through. So please note that you take 1 inch. So I've attached it. Can you see it on the right side? Then I left the 1/2 inch I told you about. So I joined this other side, and then note this point. Can you see it forms a V? Now we need to attach our zipper. I'm going to bring the camera closer for before I explain this. The first thing is you have to determine where you want your zipper to stop. So for me, I'll just measure 9 inches from here downward, which is around here. Then I'm going to notch it. That is where I want my zipper to stop. Between 9 to 10 is okay. So I'm just going to notch it. So that is where I want my zipper to stop now. So what we will do now is to close up this point to the place we want our zipper to stop. But you need to be very, very careful when you are closing this part up, or else it's just going to have a fold. So what I will do now is this. From this point, can you see where the V at this point? So make sure you fold this in. Then make sure it's straight. Make sure this aligns. So from this point now, where the seam stops, I'm going to continue taking the 1 inch. Do not enter into it or else it will fold. Just from this point where the seam stops, I'm going to take 1 inch till the place I want my zipper to stop. Make sure you measure and use your chalk to trace it all out so that you won't make any mistake. From the point where the seam stops, don't go into this bulky area at all. Straight down till where it stops. Now I've joined it immediately after the seam right down to where I want the zipper to stop. Can you see that? So just press your seam open. The next thing is to fix the zipper. I have an invisible zipper here, so you use your invisible zipper foot to fix the zipper. As an advanced class, you should be able to do that. So I'm just going to fix the zipper, and after that we can turn it all with the line. I've fixed my invisible zipper. Can you see that? So the next thing I'm going to do now is this. I'm going to close the lining. This is what the lining looks like. Can you see that? So, but remember, we need to finish up all this raw edge. It's going to be inside. So what I will do now is this. I'm going to measure whatever measurement I have from here to here, which is 30¼ inches. I'm going to mark at this point to wherever it stops. That stops here. So I'm going to leave this part open. This is going to open because we are going to use it to turn all the raw edges. Then from this point again, I'm now going to sew 1 inch for the zipper allowance. But remember, we need the opening for the zipper. We measured 9 inches from here downward. So just notch that part, then we have to close this up by 1 inch before we now finish all the raw edges. You see that I've sewn the required space to be sewn. So what I'm going to do now is this. Make sure this is on the right side. We're about to finish it up now. Let me just close the zipper. Make sure this is on the wrong side, and I will have to wear this up the right side and this. Let me just do that so well for you to see. Right now I've worn this inside the lining. So what will I do? This edge now, remember this is the godet. Can you see that? So we've hemmed this lower part. So these places we left, I'm going to make sure it matches this point. Make sure this also matches this point. Can you see that? Then I'm going to sew 1/2 inch all through. That's what I'm going to do now, from this point till this end of the godet. Let me just do that before we move forward. On the lower part now. After sewing an even top stitch, which is optional, I've sewn. This place is still open. So what we are going to do now is this. So this now, just put that aside. Remember, this is open, this part is open, but let's do this first. So this is what I have now. Can you see that? So this godet, just leave that aside. There's a seam allowance of this where we join the godet to this, and then the lining. That's what we need now. So what I'm going to do now is this. I'm just going to fold this over. Can you see that? This is the point. Just fold it over this way. Make sure all these godet is inside. Take the seam allowance of this, and then the lining seam allowance. Can you see? Just put all the godet inside. Hope you can see that. And you see, let the godet be inside till the point where the godet stops, under the bum now. Can you see that? So this is what I have. I'm going to sew for this. All the godet is inside now, so I'm going to follow the seam allowance, this seam allowance. That's what I'm going to follow now till this point. We finish sewing now, and then we end it at the edge of the triangle where the godet ends. So now we are now going to, remember, we put all the godet inside. That's why we have so much volume. The next one now is to fix this. So just bring it out from here. So this is the lining. We're just going to, from where it ends here, just fold it with all the seam allowance like we did for the first one. So we are going to follow this seam allowance. Can you see that? Then I'm going to end it here. Can you see that now? To the point where the seam stops. Can you see that? So this is the one I'm going to be sewing now. I've sewn the second one now and stop here. So this was the first one, the second one. So as to avoid it being bulky, I'm just going to reduce what I have here. Can you see that? Then here. And now I can now remove it. So this is the right side. It's not compulsory you have a full lining, and it's not compulsory you have the godet attached to it, so it totally depends on your preference. So I'm not going to arrange it so well. Let me pin the sides. So this is it. I haven't adjusted it. Can you see where the tail will be? And inside, can you see that? Let me turn it inside out so you can see the. Can you see that? So your pressing iron is going to do the remaining one. Can you see that? On the front panel, this is what it looks like. Can you see? So now let's move to the zipper. Time to finish up the lining seam allowance with the main fabric. This is the zipper, and I've opened it up. This is the seam allowance for the zipper. Can you see that? All I have to do now is this. Take this seam allowance, place it on this part. Can you see that? Then I'm going to sew from the inside. Can you see? I'm just going to sew very close to the zipper. From the inside, I will make sure I sew it very close to this part. Can you see that? After doing that, then I'll come here, place it the same way, bring out the seam allowance, the zipper seam allowance. Can you see that? Then from here, because it's still open, then I can sew it because you can feel it with your fingers, the zipper. Sew very close to it, and that's all. Right now I've fixed that. Can you see what it looks like? Everything looks good already. Let me just zip this. Can you see that? Everything looks beautiful already. So on the wrong side, on the right side, this is what it looks like. So now we are going to fix the band. Can you see that? I folded this in. So we'll be finishing this on the right side. So first this will be attached to it. And then I'm just going to fix up the band. Then you see the final look. Now I fixed the band. Can you see that with the hook and eye? It's looking so beautiful. So make sure you give it a try. You can see the godet with the lining. Then you can do this without adding lining to it. It's totally optional. Like for instance, we are using a thick material. Then you can decide not to add lining to this godet if you want that. So all you have to do is to put only the main fabric inside the lining and the main fabric. So it totally depends on you. You can see it's looking so beautiful, and it's pretty easy to make. This is it on the right side. You can see it's as beautiful as the wrong side. Let me show you the back side. And the back side, this is what the back side looks like. You can see the godet looking so beautiful. It's so nice. So what I'll do now is to put it on, and you see how it looks on me. You see here, make yours